The vast majority have little command over when or whether they can, or need to, return to work, as well-being authorities, legislators, and organizations settle on choices about restarting the economy. Be that as it may, there are a few stages numerous laborers can take, especially office laborers, to diminish the danger of contamination for themselves and colleagues when they do return. These measures dovetail with preventive advances supervisors and entrepreneurs can take so as to maintain a strategic distance from new episodes and guard their laborers. Past guaranteeing satisfactory testing and contact following for COVID-19. The most significant measure to help forestall the spread of the sickness in the work environment includes bringing just basic specialists back at first, the base expected to get this show on the road, says Joseph Allen, DSc, collaborator educator of Introduction Appraisal Science at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Past that, the arrangements are many, and they should all be utilized. There's no silver shot here, says Allen, a criminological examiner of wiped-out structures, where representatives become sick because of shape, microscopic organisms, or different pathogens that regularly demonstrate hard to track down, and co-writer of the new book Healthy Buildings. How COVID-19 Spreads. Understanding the scope of defensive measures requires a comprehension of the ways SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus that causes COVID-19, is currently thought to spread. By direct contact with a tainted individual. At the point when tainted respiratory beads from a hack, a sniffle, talking, chuckling, singing, or breathing tumble to surfaces that are then moved by someone else. At the point when littler contaminated beads, called pressurized canned products, remain suspended noticeable all around for a few minutes and are breathed in or ingested by others. Through human crap, indeed, you heard right. The topic of which mode commands is generally unimportant, Allen contends. It doesn't make a difference if a given irresistible pathway is answerable for 2% or half of cases, and we may never discover. These rates are not known for this season's cold virus, he calls attention to. What makes a difference is playing it safe to confine each type of spread. We ought to toss all that we have at this infection, which incorporates controls for all methods of transmission, Allen told correspondents in a phone call in April. His proposals reflect best practices to get ready work environments for COVID-19 received by the Government Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. Allen spreads out 3 columns for a more secure work environment. Improve sterilization. Sterilizing generally contacted surfaces at work, entryway handles, lift catches, work areas, telephones, espresso machines, is clearly essential. While it's possible representatives could help with this, the undertaking isn't little, and managers must do the majority of the grimy work themselves or recruit experts. It includes a 2-advance procedure of cleaning with cleanser and water and afterward sterilizing with a disinfectant, for example, a weakened arrangement of Fade or isopropyl liquor. The CDC has directions here. On the off chance that there's a fumes fan, leave it running when you leave the washroom. Try not to go into the restroom directly after another person. What's more, obviously, wash your hands appropriately and regularly. There are extra dangers you might be less mindful of sneaking in the washroom, which you can help decrease. Flushing a latrine creates pressurized canned products that can coast around for as long as 30 minutes, look into fines. In the event that can contains the excrement of a tainted individual, well, you get the thought. The cures are straightforward. If the can has a top, close it before flushing, Allen recommends. On the off chance that there's a fumes fan, leave it running when you leave the washroom. Try not to go into the washroom directly after another person. What's more, obviously, wash your hands appropriately and frequently. Organizations with the methods could utilize the present personal time to consider introducing contact-free fixtures and toilets, and even without touch washroom entryways, Allen suggests, improve ventilation and filtration. The World Health Organization and the U.S. Communities for Disease Control and Prevention have been delayed to underline that the coronavirus might be spreading through the air past the 6 feet ordinarily exhorted for physical detachment, Allen and different specialists have contended. There are a large number of us in my field that are persuaded that the science says airborne transmission is going on. To picture why this issues, consider somebody with awful breath, Allen recommends. At the point when you're truly near them or directly before them, you know it. Be that as it may, further away, they're despite everything producing except it won't be as intense. It's comparative with the coronavirus. Bigger respiratory beads will fall close by. Mist concentrates will drift and scatter. Researchers don't have a clue what number of coronavirus particles it takes to make somebody debilitated, however involvement in other viral sicknesses recommends the portion matters. Hence, Allen says, it's critical to weaken the fixation in a given space. That should be possible basically by opening windows. A few examinations have indicated that expanding ventilation by opening windows diminishes the spread of ailment when all is said and done. Bosses ought to introduce high-grade channels with a rating of MERV 13 or better in their warming, ventilation, and cooling (HVAC) frameworks, Allen says. It doesn't generally cost such a lot to overhaul your channel to a higher evaluation, he brings up. It's not so much clear how successful this can be that as it may. Filtration in building warming, ventilation, and cooling (HVAC) frameworks can be a piece of a general hazard alleviation approach, however isn't by and large viewed as an answer without anyone else, states the National Air Filtration Association, a charitable that speaks to the business. There is no immediate logical proof of advantage, yet some decreased introduction can sensibly be induced dependent on the capacity of certain channels to evacuate particles that contain a SARS-CoV-2 infection. Versatile air purifiers, however not modest, can likewise lessen hazard, Allen says. Excellent air purifiers, incorporating those with HEPA channels, can for sure expel germs from the earth, and specialists think this is valid for the coronavirus, as indicated by Consumer Reports. Decrease thickness and don't veil the real factors. The present open office plans, with work areas swarmed close to one another and desk area dividers expelled, present extraordinary difficulties in the midst of a viral pandemic. In any case, the difficulties can be survived, Allen says. To begin with, as an ever-increasing number of laborers return, organizations ought to consider making separate moves, or interchange work days, so less individuals are in the workplace at a given time. Meeting rooms ought to be shut. There are approaches to improve physical separating that representatives can actualize, as well. On the off chance that your work area faces another, have a go at moving them to make a counterbalance point so respiratory beads and pressurized canned products are coordinated into dividers or open passageways rather than legitimately at one another. A few organizations are thinking about the establishment of plexiglass boundaries between office workstations, and even a potential come back to the once obsolete desk area. To some degree shockingly, the least compelling measure, in the stupendous plan of ensuring most specialists outside of human services experts and people on call, is wearing a cover or other individual defensive gear (PPE), Allen and different specialists state. Do it, they exhort, yet simply realize that it comes after all the needs above as far as viability. There's a job for PPE, without a doubt, he says. Be that as it may, he's concerned bosses will consider PPE the best or just protection. You don't give somebody a veil and state, well, our duties are finished. Regardless of whether representatives are urged or required to wear face veils will come down to state and neighborhood well-being division rules or individual organization choices. There's no rule that everyone must follow on this. On the off chance that general well-being experts suggest across-the-board utilization of PPE, for example, veils, it will require clearness with regards to what is required and who is answerable for giving such gear, particularly if deficiencies persevere, Suzanne Clark, leader of the U.S. Office of Commerce, said in a letter to individuals a month ago. In the event that face veils are to be depended on, individuals need to realize how to wear them appropriately. Allen exhorts veils particularly in regions where workers accumulate, and especially in lifts. New York City's health department, which knows some things about lifts, recommends the catches be cleaned routinely, and everybody ought to keep up the 6-foot division rule, in line and inside the lift. Truly, that implies a possibly long pause or, as the city proposes, using the stairwell. OSHA likewise encourages organizations to give hand sanitizer and extra tissue boxes and waste repositories, to effectively advance legitimate cleanliness, and to urge wiped-out representatives to remain at home. The office gives more top-to-bottom guidance dependent on presentation chances that vary by work type, for example, controlling the quantity of clients in a retail location or giving gloves and eye insurance to representatives in high-hazard occupations. Allen focuses on that none of these measures will bode well on the off chance that we don't initially have wide-scale testing to realize when individuals are tainted or in the event that they may be invulnerable, and across-the-board contact following to tell individuals who may have gotten the illness. Furthermore, he says, nothing will dispose of all the hazard as choices are made to get this show on the road once more. There's nothing of the sort as zero hazard, he says. The objective here is to limit hazard.